Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're learning about ASA and AAS. Let's go ahead and get started. Angle side angle incorporates where the side is included between the two angles. So I'm going to go ahead and write in red here. So included side, meaning I'm going to find the two angles that are congruent and the side between them needs to be congruent in order to use angle side angle. So if I'm looking here, I need angle B to be congruent to angle E. And then let's say angle C is congruent to angle F. In order for it to be angle side then angle, I need the side to be basically the side that connects the two congruent angles together. So BC would have to be congruent to EF in this instance. And then I can say that ABC is congruent to triangle DEF, and that would be by angle side angle. So going to our first example, this is determine if the triangles are congruent by angle side angle. If so, how? The first thing I need to put in here is what I know already. I know this angle and this angle are congruent. I also know that this angle and this angle are congruent because they both be equal to 90 degrees. Therefore, if I'm using angle side angle and I have one angle already and I have a second angle, I need a side to finish off angle side angle. I need that side to be between the angles as well. So I'm going to look at information that I can assume is true. There's only two things I can assume are true: shared sides and vertical angles. In this problem, I have this shared side of BD. So if I look, I'm going to go ahead and just draw through here. If I look at this top triangle, I can see that the side is between both angles. Just like if I cross off the top triangle and I look just at the bottom, my side is between both of my angles. So, therefore, if I have angle side angle for both triangles, yes, these two would be congruent by angle side angle because BD is congruent to BD by the reflexive property of congruence. Alright, let's go to the next examples. State what additional information is needed to determine that the two triangles are congruent. Right now the triangles aren't congruent. We have to find what additional thing would make them congruent by the theorem angle side angle. So let's look at number one. I have an angle and an angle. I have a side and a side. So I'm going to go ahead and cross out what I have. I need an angle such that the side is included. In this problem, angle E and angle J would have to be the second set of angles that need to be congruent because my side needs to be between the two angles that are congruent. So my answer is going to be angle E congruent to angle J. Problem number two. I'm given a set of angles here, set of angles there, and I need the side between the two. As you can see, DE is the side that would connect the two congruent angles, and LK would be its corresponding side. And you can see in this one too that the side is between the two angles for both triangles. Problem 3. I have a set of angles that are congruent. I know that they share the side GH. So if I have angle and I have side, I need another angle in order to use angle side angle. Now I know that the side needs to basically be between the two angles that are congruent. So I know that angle FHG has to be congruent to angle VHG in order to use angle side angle. So this would be VHG. Alright, in problem number 4, I have a set of congruent angles. I can assume that I have vertical angles in this problem. So I'm going to put my angle here. So I need the additional information. I have two angles. I need a side. I need that side to be between the two angles that are congruent. And that would be side LX is congruent to side WX. And I want you to look, I'm going to zoom out for a second. If you notice all of these, oh, it's freezing up on me, okay. If you notice all of these, look at how angle side angle is set up for each one of them. They're on the exact same side of the triangle for both sets. So you kind of want to steer away from, if you're using angle side angle, having them separated out across the triangle. You need them to be right next to one another when you're using angle side angle. Alright, let's go down to angle side. In angle side, the side is no longer included. So it's going to be on the outside of the two angles that are congruent. So if angle B is congruent to angle E, and angle C is congruent to angle F, so I've got this one, this one, this one, and this one. There is two answers in this part, and this is the toughest of the four so far. Technically, I have two answers for this. I could say that AC is congruent to DF, which most of you guys can see because it goes in the order angle, angle, and then side. But I can also have the answer AB is congruent to triangle, or to side DE as well, because it's also not included in the angle. As long as I don't pick BC or EF, it is an answer. So when you get to angle side, you're really going to have to decide which ones are going to tell you that you can use angle side, or you might have multiple answers within that same problem. So this would mean that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF by angle side. Now that might not make any sense. Wait till we get to the examples of additional information and you'll see what I'm talking about. So determine if the triangles are congruent by angle side. First thing I notice, these two angles are the same, these two angles are the same. I need then, in order to use angle side, I have an angle, I need the side in order to finish this up. Now there's only two things I can assume are true. They either share a side, or they have or they have vertical angles. In this problem, they share the side BD. Now I need to see if it's in the order angle side. So I'm going to go ahead and cross this bottom side off and just look at the top. As you can see, I have my angles here, and the side is excluded, so it's not between the two angles. Therefore, it is in the order angle side. Now let's look at the bottom one. BCD. My angle's here, my side is not between the two angles. Therefore, it is also an angle side. So, since that's true for both triangles, yes, they would be congruent, but angle side, because BD would be congruent to DB, and remember it's flipped because the triangle's flipped over, and that would be by the symmetric property of congruence. Alright, let's go to the last set of examples. What additional information is needed to determine that the two triangles are congruent by AAS? Right now I have a set of sides that are congruent, and I can assume that vertical angles are the same. So at the moment I have A and I have S. So I'm not gonna cross anything out because I need to determine where my next A is going to be. So if I'm looking at this problem, if I were to choose E, let's say I chose E. First of all, there's only two options. There's either this angle or this angle. If I chose E, my side would be between the two angles, and my order of my lettering is AAS. This part right here would mean that the S would be between the two A's, which is not what we want. Okay, we want AAS, so therefore I cannot choose E as my angle. I'd have to choose C. So angle C would have to be congruent to, and that would be angle I for the other one because K could not be the option for the other side. So angle I. So C is congruent to I, and that would be my final answer. And as you can see, the side is not between the two angles, so this one would work. Let's go to number 2. I've got a set of angles here. I know that they share a side. I'm going to go ahead and look at the top triangle first. I need an angle. So there's only 2 options left. There's that angle and that angle, 1 and 2. If I were to choose one, my side would be between my 2 angles, which would not work. So I have to choose angle 2, or angle W, to be congruent to, for the other triangle, angle I. And as you can see, it's angle side because the side is not between the 2 angles, it is on the outside. Alright, this is where it starts to get tough, mostly because there's 2 answers. Alright, there's going to be multiple answers in this. So the first thing I'm going to look at is the things I have congruent, I have an angle, and I have a side. I'm going to look at the top triangle first. I need it to be angle side. I'm going to label this 1 and 2. If I look at these 2 angles, is my side between those 2 angles? That answer is no. Therefore, angle 1 works. So I know that KML would have to be congruent to, on the other triangle, it would be angle PML. Now going back to what I just had, I know also if I chose angle A or angle K and angle 2, my side is also not between those 2 angles. Therefore, it is also an answer that I can use. So KLM is congruent to angle PLM. So it could be that or that for this problem. Really tough to see, hard for students to analyze. Know that as long as the side is not between the 2 angles, it is a possible answer. Alright, so I'll just start with, so I'll just say this was my angle that I chose for the first option, and this was the angle that I chose for the second option. Okay, let's go to number 4. I have an angle here, have an angle here, have an angle here, have an angle here. That means I need a side. That side either needs to be, well, when I say either, basically what I'm insinuating is that there's going to be 2 answers for this, because the only answer I can't choose is LM or DE, because they are between the 2 congruent angles. So that means I can choose this side and this side, or I could choose this side and this side to be congruent because they're on the outside, which would make it angle side for both of them. So LN could be congruent to DF, just like, or MN could be congruent to EF. Tough section, just make sure that you know where the S is located. If it's between, it's angle side angle, and if it's on the outside, it's angle side. Go ahead and get started on the homework. Good luck.